Hello, this is Mike Batt, and I'm just about to start episode 4 of my Diary of a Symphony, which has been a long time coming actually, because the last one I did was, well, a long time ago. When I first started out, I wanted to have 4 movements, 10 minutes each, and it will be about something. And the thing it's going to have to be about is what I think, how I feel at the moment. And what do we all feel at the moment when we watch the news? We feel a little bit of despair about what's going on in the world, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in America, what's happening in the Middle East, all of it. But specifically focusing on the Ukraine when I began thinking about this. And I've got my 4 movements, which are exactly, I'm hoping they'll be 10 minutes long. The first movement, I said I wanted it to be capricious, almost joyful in places, and then sometimes with a little bit of a sort of darkness which is interlaced throughout it. And you don't have to think of it like this, but I do in order to stimulate me to write it. I think, okay, well, this first movement is Ukraine and Russia and all the surrounding areas and the world before 2022. Of course, there's an awful lot of tension and an awful lot of things that one could say about the current affairs of the world at that point that don't necessarily mean that every moment of my first movement is dancing in the park. It's certainly not. But there is a little bit of that I found has crept into it, because I'm now some way into it, about halfway through the first movement. And all sorts of benefits with this software that I think are great. For some jobs, you can do entire jobs where you then take this score and then feed it with samples, and then you get a fairly good approximation of what it's like. But I don't want to hear a fairly good approximation of what it's like. It's just in my blood to hear it back on the piano. So even though I'm now playing this by hand, I like to hear it back. This is how I put the notes in, using the numbers for a crotchet, quaver. All of these numbers have got different note values assigned to them, and then stimulating it with the piano. So I write like that with one hand on here. Okay, so that's the piece, and I'm going to play it on the piano, or rather I'll have the score play it. It did actually develop after the last time I spoke to you on this, and you'll see it, and I'll explain it as we go along. It doesn't have really any sort of war content other than the ominous looming of it, which anyone listening to some of this will think, well, that's just there's a little bit of a folk dance in there that's four bars long. Why is that there? Well, in my mind, it's there because it then gets interrupted by something else, or foreboding, I suppose you might say. Of course, it's started to happen, but it's happened since I last spoke to you on camera. I'll just show you by going back to the score where we are, what sort of thing. It'll sound clanky and mechanical on the piano, but that's because it's on the piano. When it's in the studio, there'll be a whole orchestra playing it, and it won't sound anything like this really. But without further ado, I'll just press the play button, which means I need my playback tools, window, playback controls. I'll just take it out of the way of the view. We're going to just go from the top, and you've got oboes and clarinets doing pretty much exactly the same, although these chords change here, and the flutes come in up here, and here they're joined by 3 trumpets. Now, I should explain that the classical tradition is to have your trumpets below your horns. I think the reason for that is the horns play a lot with the woodwinds, and therefore people liked to have it. But I just like my trumpets that at the top of the brass section. This is the brass section here. And so I have trumpets, 3 trumpets on one stage. So then you've got 2 horns there and 2 more horns, the lower horns there. Then you've got 2 tenor trombones there, and you've got a bass trombone, and then a tuba. You can see the tuba only plays 1 note at the end of bar 6 so far. And then here at bar 13, I've got this kind of odd little folk dance coming in. What I've just heard myself say, which is true, is that the whole movement is made up. I haven't got the whole movement written yet, I've only written the first half. But what it's ended up is being like little slices of life, you know, just everyday life. There's a little skipping tune almost. Which to me actually was intended to sound like someone just skipping, a little kid skipping in the park. But then I found that after a while, that could maybe be a broader tune that might actually be something that could be used to develop the feeling throughout a slower version of itself. It's all playing at the same tempo, but it's just written slower across, going across, i.e. which has been derived from that skipping tune I told you about, and the 3 trombones are now going to be showing us the tempo change. So let's start again. Now, so it's already in the slow. It's a different version of that opening tune, but for strings. It's a sort of wandering cornet solo that only lasts for 4 bars until it's picked up by the clarinet here, and the clarinet takes it and takes it somewhere else. It's going. And so on. Here comes the same tune on the woodwinds with this kind of string section counterpoint going underneath. This woodwind tune with a much more nice resolution, very satisfying. So now, I'm just going to go through it one more time now and try and talk you through it. Starts on the weird chord with the semitones, oboe and clarinets, trumpets, silence for 2 bars. And then this jolly little tune on the strings to keep some melody going, and rhythm, more importantly. A little, the slight folk dancey F minor section with an odd trumpet above it. Then, sort of like a happy resolution. Some woodwinds fiddling about, and then dark brass chords underneath it. And a little soft, quiet section on the violins and cellos. Back to the motion. Soft, restful part. Then horns with little violins above them. They're not little violins, the same size violins as usual, but playing softer. That stretched out skipping tune, but sadder, on cor anglais and strings. Moving on, diminuendo on the strings. This is a bass and cello tune now. A little bit of an Eastern European moment there. And then into the broader tune again. The skipping tune, but sad. Trombone trio slowing it down to a cornet solo with strings underneath. Horns now with a clarinet solo above them. Here comes the ominous tune. The trumpets are going. Woodwinds playing the tune, but the strings playing a kind of counterpoint thingy underneath it. There's the strings only, you can only see the strings, and there's the ending of the woodwind tune above it. The great big tutti chord orchestra, then that little Almost back to the skipping tune there. In Here They Come Again, the ominousness. Now light-hearted again with the woodwinds, flutes, clarinets, bassoon underneath, just keeping violin solo there. Big stab coming up on the orchestra, and then strings. Stab. First violins. Trumpet solo. That nice resolution again. Then we come in with the woodwinds. Going to be strings there. That used to be the restful chord, but it's going to be big and brassy now. Then we have the final thing, which is that violin solo. And I'll stop it there because that's the final moment I've got to. Actually, I haven't stopped it there on the machine. So that's it. That's as far as I've got. It's only 118 bars. It's nothing. So that's it for now, and I'll just say thanks for watching and see you next time.